Hello.
Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Hi, Kalpana. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Good. I think we are live. So, shall we start?
Absolutely.
Hello, everyone. This is Kalpana Ramrakhyani, and with us today we have Miss Rupa Bhullar, who is the author of When the Wildflowers Bloom. Uh, you can see the beautiful cover, the beautiful artwork of the book. First of all, I would like to start with thanking everyone who has taken out their time to be with us today and listen to us talk about our favorite topic, books. Okay, so ma'am, please tell us something about yourself.
Okay. So first of all, thanks to all the readers at and the book club who are able to join us today. To the book club for organizing this, Rupa Publications, and to the Karma Foundation. Thank you very much for having us here. This is my second book, When the Wildflowers Bloom, and so far, we've been very happy to receive great reviews. A lot of people are relating to the book, and I know it's a topic that's being widely discussed. So happy
Yes.
to be here, happy to be in conversation and to share my thoughts. And thank you for having me.
Okay, ma'am. So, we would all love to know what the book is all about. The book has come very recently, and not many of us have yet read it. So, please tell us something about the book, the subject, the plot, the characters, and whatever else you want.
Of course, happy to share that. So Tara is the main protagonist of the book, and the book, I
Mhm.
would say, has multiple themes going in there. It is the story of a woman who is trapped in an unhealthy marriage, and very late in life, she decides to, an incident leads her to make a decision to take a break from it. She doesn't decide to walk out, but she takes a break, and over time, how things lead to her realizing the extent of the abuse, having the courage to step out of the relationship, how people come around. So I think it's a story of loss, it's a story of hope, it's a story of longing. Really, it's a story of life. And it also highlights some other social issues like education in rural India. It talks about love, it talks about relationships. So I think there's multiple strings going on in there, but Tara will take you through all of these emotions as she finds herself.
So it's very interesting that you didn't use the word unhappy marriage, you didn't use the word abusive marriage, you used the term unhealthy, which instantly got my attention. So, because what happens is that we are so used to compromising on our happiness that unhappy marriage is kind of ठीक है सब convenient है if everything is going on well, okay, fine.
Yes.
It becomes a marriage of convenience in that case if the marriage is unhappy. If the
Yes.
marriage is abusive, if it is that extreme, then of course the steps you take, the decisions you
I
make,
agree.
the support and the general thinking, general thought behind your relationship shifts because of the extent. But it's very interesting that you use the word unhealthy. It is not something that we often talk about. Abusive marriages, okay. Unhappy marriages, still okay. We At least there's a discourse on these topics. But
Yeah.
unhealthy marriage is what actually caught my attention, uh, because what I feel is abuse is not always physical,
Correct.
and it's also emotional. It's also mental.
Yeah.
Sometimes a relationship that just takes too much energy, if nothing else.
Correct.
It's not unhappy, it's not it's not abusive, it's not unhappy, there's nothing wrong going on, but still it takes a lot of energy,
Yeah.
doesn't give you enough as much as you give, so it
Yes.
doesn't replenish you in a way,
Yes.
your energy. So we may call those marriages unhealthy marriages, as you said also, but we
Yes.
often don't talk about them. We often don't, we just take it as a part of life, ki compromise hai life mein hota hai, and we should just move on and things like that. So
Right.
that is one thing I got my attention. And uh, while reading this book also, this thing was constantly at the back of at the back of my mind, that there is emotional abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse. Of course,
Right.
physical abuse is very easy to recognize also. That
Mhm.
is what I feel.
Yes.
So what was it that drew you to the story, that wanted, that compelled you to pen it out, to compel you to narrate it? So
Yes.
was it this aspect or was it something more?
I think this was the primary aspect of it. At that point in my life, I had been associating with people who were in similar instances of
Mm-hmm.
like we talked about, the marriages that are not, most conducive. And you said, right, like it's not a black or white when it comes to, where there's a lot of mental aspects related. There's also a lot of second guessing. So you're not able to say, look, I'm in an abusive marriage and I need to get out of here. So what happens
Yes,
is that a lot of people will say, oh, maybe I'm being too sensitive, maybe that's not
yes,
what he meant. Oh, but see, today he's better, right?
yes.
So the patterns, it takes a while for you to realize that it is a pattern and I'm caught in
Mm,
it and it is getting worse. So the fact that you're always thinking what I can do differently to change this, that hope
mm,
that most people have, I think
mm,
inherently you get into marriage with the idea that it's a lifelong commitment. So
mm,
so it takes a lot for you to say, okay, so this is going to be over, how do I deal with it? So calling it out is the hardest part, and that's almost true for everything in life. Like if you have a health issue,
yes,
the diagnosis is the important part. Yeah, then the medication
yes.
is easy, right? The recovery is there.
Right.
The diagnosis is
Mm-hmm.
very important. And similarly, in this story, I felt like I had seen people firsthand who
Mm-hmm.
always second guessed, the relationship, and you could see how it's eating away at them and totally destroying them from inside, and it wasn't a good place to be for them or for,
Yes.
the family at the end of it. So I think that inspired me to write about the story, but I did not want this to be a story of just awareness or mental abuse. It was a
Mm.
story of hope that yes, there's a life beyond it. And I think that was the whole motivation, that we may not see the path, but the path will emerge as long as we're willing to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Here also, like recognizing that you yourself are in an unhealthy relationship, and then the next step comes when you share this with others, and other people should also recognize it for what it is, for them to lend you
Yes.
your support. They won't
Yes.
just, people don't generally take women at their word. You have to convince them ki, yes, I have been abused, yes, I have been, I have gone through this thing. So
Yeah.
victim blaming, victim shaming is a very common place here. Even
Of
when
course.
it comes to divorces, it's all like women have to compromise.
Yep.
uh, More women are expected to compromise than men. So,
Yep.
in the first thing is always that everybody has to compromise, but then the
Yes.
burden of compromising often falls on the woman more than the man.
Correct.
And indirectly, subtly, it is shifted. The burden is shifted slowly, slowly, slowly. Okay, you do this to make him happy. Maybe
Yes.
he'll not react in a certain way
Yeah.
if you do this and do that and other things.
Yeah.
Okay, so this also makes me feel that the story of uh, people who are not suffering on the face but suffering
Yes.
subtly and unhealthily and living in
Yes.
relationships, um, these stories are often more common than outrightly physically abusive
Yeah.
marriages. So hence I believe that it's more important to
Yes.
bring these stories out, bring these stories to life, especially in a country like India where it is still
Exactly.
on a very it's more rampant because again the vulnerability of a woman, the privileges that a woman has are still very much restricted. When you go to, when you talk about numbers, more women are dependent financially, emotionally, and other
Correct.
support also. Family and all doesn't easily lend your support. So
Yeah.
here also, I think that it's very important to bring this out, uh, not because of to bring out the story of the person who's going through this and not to comfort them. I mean, not only to comfort them, but also to make other people realize.
Realize. So I think that was part of my
Yeah.
own discovery in the story. I
Mm-hmm.
that how do you make something that is intangible stand out
Mm.
and you start defining it, right? I used one of the lines that mental abuse is the tormentor, that sneaks up on you while you're
Mm-hmm.
still trying to recognize its face. And that was
Mm-hmm.
true because for me, I felt that you don't know, but like there is a pattern, there is a behavior, and it can come in many different forms. There's not okay, if this is happening, it equals abuse, right? It can be control, right? It can be threats, it can be unpredictability, and people want to preserve the peace in the house, and they feel like, okay, if I don't respond, maybe we won't have a big showdown, or
Yes.
so people use all kind of strings to kind of
Avoiding
use
confrontation
that
also
victory,
many a times.
right? In the
Yes.
sense that, yes, so there's a lot of things that can go on. It can take many forms. They can start to control you. They can start to order you around, almost dehumanizing you. Humiliation is big, and undermining your achievements is big, just making you feel like you're not smart. It's a very, very simple comment, and but sometimes where it leads you to where you start second guessing yourself, that maybe I really am not that smart, or maybe I can't be
Yes.
independent in life, or maybe I'm not
Yes.
capable of much. I think that is when it really goes down the slippery slope, because sometimes that's just a means of keeping you in control. Financial control is another big thing, right? Financial, even like making big decisions.
It's one of the more obvious things.
Yeah. So a lot of
Whereas the other things are more
forms.
subtle and more difficult to recognize and understand that what exactly is going on behind a marriage.
So I think because it can take many forms, somebody reading the story could be a person in the marriage, could be somebody outside of the marriage, may relate to
Yes.
it and see how it progresses and what it leads to, and oh, maybe this is something I'm feeling, or maybe this is something I've been with, and so it just sort of this validation to what you're feeling, and you have a bouncing board, through the medium of a story where it creates awareness. Yes.
Yes. So this is a very good point that you brought up, and we like discussed that also to make other people around person realize that they need to be more empathetic, they need to be more sensitive towards their needs, and they need to actually sit up and listen if the person is coming to you and asking you for help. Maybe not directly overtly that I need help, but just communicating with you things that
Yeah.
they're feeling that they're going through. So there is this very interesting argument that artists of all kinds, but especially to storytellers, um, some people strongly feel that it's a moral obligation upon the writers, upon other storytellers, upon any medium of storytelling to uh, talk about social issues, try to bring change in the society, make people aware of things and other things. What do you think about it?
Okay. Honestly speaking, I think the only moral obligation of a storyteller is to tell a good story. Because,
I agree.
but stories are a very powerful medium. And so I do feel, and again, every story may call out to you differently. So I feel like this story called out to me at this point in my life.
Yes.
A previous story was very different. So I feel with every story there may be something that you take away from it, and what you put out there definitely impacts the thinking, like the readers who are reading it. So I feel like stories, whether it is through films, or it's through books, or it's through even the songs that you're listening to, I think
Yes.
all of these mediums of art uh, do influence and shape us as a culture and as a society, and
Mm-hmm.
ideally I think it's a very powerful medium to bring change, but
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's a big burden to place on the artists, because story is what comes
On
to
the
you.
shoulders of one
I don't
person,
think
yes.
somebody would go down and say, look, I want to bring change, so I'm going to write a story. I'm writing a story, and
Story
I
won't be that good.
change. So that's more of a reverse process, and that's a
Yes, yes.
comes out. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I mean, in my opinion, if you really want to create awareness of on an issue, and if you really want to bring something to light and want people to understand it, you write a non-fiction book. That
Yes.
is my personal opinion.
Yes.
When you
Yes.
are telling the story, your first responsibility, your first obligation is towards the characters, towards the story. If
Yes.
you're not true to that, then
Yes.
if I write a story with this purpose in my mind that I'll go and explain people how marriages are abusive, then the
Yeah.
story won't be that good. It
No.
won't flow as well as it should,
Yeah.
and it will be more over the top, and it will make compromises on the medium, on the art,
Yes.
that I believe shouldn't be made. And of course, I mean, it's everybody's responsibility to try to create change around us, but to replace that responsibility upon one writer or one director or one script writer, story writer, I think it's a little too much
It's
to ask for. Yeah.
I agree.
how many times has it happened that आपने एक movie देख लिया और आप बदल गए? It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
collective effort. So you
It's
might as well be true to the story and
yes.
see that the story affects you. If the story affects you and awareness comes out of it, it's a very happy, very good byproduct.
Yes.
But
Yes.
often subtly you start, understanding things.
Yes.
And it stays with you longer. If I tell
Correct.
you कि किसी को थप्पड़ नहीं मारना, and if I tell you कि किसी को थप्पड़ लगा, तो this is all what went
Exactly.
ahead.
Exactly.
So I think I think the impact also is greater if you're true to the characters, if you're true to the story, and the story touches people in one way or another. I think that impact is greater, and that
Yes.
is what a writer should put their energies into rather than.
Absolutely. And when I
Uh,
started with Tara's story, I think it started out at that
Mhm.
footing, but another social issue came in a little later, which was related to education, and it wasn't. When I started out, I knew it would come on. So I feel like
Mhm.
I go on a journey with the character, and then
Mhm.
things come up, which where you feel like, okay, this is something that needs a little more attention, or you as a writer want to explore it further and see what would
Mhm.
they be feeling. So
How it goes.
we
How
learn
it
and
goes.
grow and become aware as much as our readers become aware from reading it.
So on this note, tell us something about your writing process.
Yes, so my writing process, it's evolving. So of course, I've been working, so I have I have a full time work that I'm dedicated to, and writing is my passion. And hopefully I'm transitioning out of that and taking on writing. So for me, writing happens in stolen time. So it's like maybe a weekend, and sometimes it's been very frustrating because I feel like, okay, you're in a flow and you wish you continue writing, uh, but then there's other things that you're obligated towards. So I feel writing is almost like my little relief from everything else, because I shut myself in a room and that's my happy space. I enjoy the process of writing, whether it's a good day of writing or a bad day of writing. And I think the more I write, the better we get. So it's a learning process. Um, and sometimes, like I said, you'll it'll come in drips, and sometimes there'll be a flood. So I see that with me very distinctly, that there'll be significant parts of a book that I will churn out like over a period of 15 days, and the rest might take me like 6 months. Little by little, I'm kind of starting, stopping. I think it's a lot about momentum and a flow and just getting in the zone.
So it's not like a strict schedule that you follow, or so daily you have to churn out a number of words
No,
or something like
no,
that.
no. I wish
And
I
no
could
fixed time,
get
no
there,
fixed
but
time to
so
book.
far it's not happened.
Same here. Okay, how long did it take for you to write this book?
So this book, I would say, because when I was starting out, I was sort of, it starts on a heavy footing. It was a little bit of a rough patch for me to tide through and get into the happier part of the story. So the initial chapters were, it took me like I would write off and on, just pulling my thoughts together. So it kind of got pushed out,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 4 months, 3, 4 months. But then I would say
That's
chapter
good.
5 through the last chapter, over a period of 15-20 days, like I churned out a chapter a day. Every single day I just wrote a
That's
chapter,
incredible.
rewrite the chapter, like you
We can say 5 months,
but the
five
story was
months for the entire
completed,
process.
like literally from
Mm.
chapter 5 to the last chapter in about 15 days. Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. That's incredible. Really appreciable. So, uh, I'm also a writer in some space. So, what I've experienced is that when there is a story that's there in your mind,
Yes.
so it stays with you even while you're driving, even while you're cooking. I would many
Yes.
times just switch the gas off, go and take notes, and then come back again.
Yep.
Or even if I'm driving, I'll just record a voice note and send
Yeah.
myself on WhatsApp and then continue driving.
Correct.
So, uh, writing on paper is, say, if it takes an hour, uh, the story is with you 24 hours, even if you're just sitting on a laptop,
Absolutely.
and writing.
Absolutely.
So for
Absolutely.
5 months you have lived with a story that talks about abuse, talks about struggles, that talks about stigma and other things. And Was it difficult for you to manage your emotions or mental psyche, or did you feel dragged into some despair, or something that did it affect you personally or your personal life while you was doing this?
No, so see, I again, I feel like I'm a very positive person. I stay away from any negativity. I don't even watch any heavy negative stuff on TV. So for me to write this was a big challenge because I always wish it's happy, right? So I think the way we started out and structured it is that the prologue kind of brings the main event to foresight, and chapter one
Mhm.
opens on a happier,
Yes.
easier. So with that big
Yes.
transition,
Huh.
I was sort of in a space where I felt relief that yes, this is there,
Mhm.
but then there is also this side of it going. And I think I consciously tried to minimize harping on the negative side of it. So really, while it
Mhm.
is about abuse, it doesn't describe abuse. It describes what happens after she realizes it and moves forward in
Yes.
life. So I think
Yes.
the
Yes.
focus is not so negative. It is
Mhm.
making people aware of,
Because the
of
book is more about healing than the abuse. The book is more about healing.
yes, more about healing and more about there being a possibility of life,
Yes.
after an event like that.
Yes. Also, perhaps maybe because you know how it ends, so uh, it becomes easy to go through the difficult parts.
Yeah, yeah, and somewhere I think it like as you're writing certain scenes, you would get frustrated, you would get angry, you would get sad, and you'd be like, this is terrible, like this shouldn't happen to anyone. So I think it took a lot of toll, but those were the hardest phases for me to deal with. And at one point,
Mhm.
honestly, Kalpana, like I was like, initially when I started writing it, I'm like, मुझे लिखने का ही नहीं दिल कर रहा तो पढ़ेगा कौन, like it's just so sad, like it can't be sad, like there has to be hope, there can't be just, because no matter, I think human beings are very resilient, and no
Yes.
matter what life throws at us, we find a way around it to bounce back to our
Yes.
normal. so
Yes.
so so I think that is the human spirit, and the resilience of it is really what was at the
Mhm.
heart of the story. And that
Basically, animals that need survival.
absolutely, yeah, and we figure it
Yes.
out. Yeah,
We figure it out.
yeah,
Just knowing that we figure it out feels good, right?
absolutely,
just,
and that's the main
just
thing.
this thought makes us feel good. कि कर लेंगे कुछ ना कुछ हो जाएगा.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And the more you experience it, the more
Yes.
comfortable you get with the idea of
Yes.
uncertainty, and saying that,
Yes.
there will be a way.
I agree on this. Okay, so my next question is a little tricky to ask. So, um, a lot of parallels are being drawn between the book and the movie Thappad that came out recently and was a big hit. And Anubhav Simna and Tapsi Pannu did a wonderful job of showcasing. Again, the same thing that just one Thappad is also something that brings into light that this is not where I want to be. This is
Yeah.
not the relationship where I'm getting respect. This is not the kind of life and relationship that I want. What are your thoughts on this, on these parallels of this Thappad and the
So
book?
yeah, actually, I was surprised when I initially started hearing it, because actually the story had been completed before Thappar. So it got really
Okay.
prolonged. It was in the editing process. Then COVID
Yes.
happened. Then so we kind of pushed it out. So it's been a long process. But I think the reason why people continue to draw parallels is because there's very few things that have brought up instances like this, and Thappar was almost the first visual medium to portray it without saying that, look, everything is bad and everything is negative and the woman walks out. It was sort of that gray line, like, is it not, do you
Yes.
stay, do you leave? So I think the same dilemma that the protagonist here is going through, or anybody who's with less obvious instances of abuse is the parallel. And but somebody put it very eloquently, and a friend of mine, she read the book, and she said, this story is where Thappar, it takes off where Thappar ends, right, where Thappar leaves it, like with
Okay.
her.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes. That
with
that
her,
that that I agree with. Yes.
with Amrita, like at the end of it, she walks out of that marriage, and this story
Yes.
starts there, that she walks out of the marriage, and then
Yes, yes, yes.
so it's this
So
it's this
maybe, so maybe Anubhav Sinha should make part two based on your book. The sequel of Thappad comes with your book. One more thing that while we were conversing came into my mind. So, if you have seen the movie Tamasha, so Ranveer Singh. Okay, so there's a storyteller in the book,
yes,
and he very prominently says कि क्या ये कहानी वो कहानी सब कहानी एक ही है.
yeah, yeah,
And there is this entire song sequence of Chali Kahani where, one character merges into another and into then another. There's that song, one line is about Soni Mehwal, the next line is about Lord Krishna, and then there is Ram Sita there.
yeah,
So the entire idea is behind that song and behind that psyche of the storyteller is कि कहानी तो वही है, चलती आ रही है, चलती जाएगी, समय के साथ.
totally.
And even the line in that song goes कि अनगित साल से चल रही वही तेरे मेरे इश्क की नई कहानी, पुरानी कहानी है बट नई है. So of
Yes,
course everybody and as we established earlier that it's more common than we think. It's ऐसा नहीं है कि किसी एक के साथ हुआ तो it can be said once. It has happened millions and millions of times.
yeah,
So
yeah.
millions of storytellers can come up with their own things, even if it is similar. Then let it be similar. No problem with that.
And by the way, that's one of my favorite movies. So yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
I love India.
yeah.
Not that, what was that? Harry Met Sejal wala Imtiaz Ali, but before that. Anyways, so what do you think of different forms of storytelling now that we are already talking about movies and Thappad and all that?
Yeah, different forms of storytelling. I think for a storyteller, story is it's a very fluid thing, right? I think it can very seamlessly adapt itself to any medium.
Mhm.
um, the nuances are different. So,
Yes.
so a story can be contained in a song. A story can be contained, somebody can, orally kind of give you a very nice story just before bedtime. That's what we've done with the kids, and it can be
Mhm.
in the form of a book. It can be in the form of a series or a film or so. I think a story can take many forms, and I think a story can even be in the form of a painting. Sometimes you stand in front of a
Yes.
painting and like, oh my god, it's telling you so much, right? So I think
Yes.
platforms can vary, and
Hmm.
the skills may have to be adapted. And certain
Hmm.
people, like for example in a film, there's a lot you can do with expressions, right, which you
Yes.
can't do in a book. So I
Yes.
think that's an added asset.
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
in book, like you have to really think about how you're wording it, how you're conveying the setting, all of
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
visual medium becomes very important in movies.
Hmm. Hmm.
In songs, like it's just through your words and through the music you're
Yes.
communicating a story.
Yes.
So I feel that the nuances may be different, but a story is very it can just fit into any platform, and the story at the day delivers what it is supposed to deliver. So there's
Yeah,
a
I agree
moral,
with that.
there's
And also, yes, and
entertainment.
also I think human beings are inherently, drawn towards stories. So whatever medium entices the audience, I think that's okay. If you like to watch movies and be done with something in 3 years, that's good. If you like the story to stay with you for you say a longer period of time, and if
Yeah,
you want to feel more deeply about something, then by all means pick up a book. So
yeah, yeah,
whatever
yeah.
works
So
for the audience, whatever works
totally.
for the audience.
Yeah.
Okay, so
On
the next
different
thing I
days.
want to talk about is, sorry,
No, I said on different days their preferences may be
on
different.
different days. Yes, on different times. Also, moods vary. Sometimes we want something to kill us, and sometimes we just want to have a good laugh. So, okay, so next thing I want to talk about is this. So, for our audiences, I'm so sorry, the StreamYard is messing with my left right thing. So, this is for the audience. I want to show this cover, the beautiful cover of this book. So, of course, there is by no means I'm going to end this interview before talking about the cover. Tell me something. Where did the inspiration of the artwork come from?
So this is all, the credit entirely goes to the team at Rupa Publications. They've been
Okay.
phenomenal. I think the reason behind the success of my first book, I always attributed to the cover. The cover was absolutely gorgeous. This
Yes.
cover, we went through a few different ideas, and there were flowers, and but we kind of had a few discussion sessions where we knew that just a flower on the cover could be a poetry book. It could be anything, right? So we
Yes.
wanted the image of a woman
Yes.
to be, because it's really a woman's story, and the title
Yes.
is of course When the Wildflowers Bloom, but that's not the message that we are sending through this.
Yes.
So also we didn't want to define what the character looks like. We just didn't want the image of a woman on there. So I think they heard me what I wanted, and they came back with this, and yeah, that was the end of it. But it was really the all the credit goes to the fabulous
It's the
designers.
first thing that catches your eye even before you read the book. You know it's going to be lovely because the cover is so lovely. It instantly, draws you
It's a
in.
happy color
The
also. I think it's
speckles.
a
The
happy
color,
color.
the
It
color
really
is
brings
very
up.
pretty. The color,
Yeah.
this green is and all, and the combination with white, I really love. It's really
Yes.
beautiful. Okay,
Yeah.
so the next thing I wanted to talk about was about Indian authors. Where do you think we stand now? Authors in India.
So I
Have we
think
moved finally beyond Arundhati Roy and Amitabh Ghosh?
yes. So I think times have really changed. Even in the few years that I've been writing, I think I see a lot of things happening on the Indian literary scene. And it's very encouraging to see that voices are finding a medium now, even through self publication. I think a lot of avenues have opened up for people
Mhm.
who want to tell a story to be able to tell a story, and
Yes.
and to make it reach people outside of the traditional means. You've got social media. You've got the
Yes.
ability to interact and put your work out there for people to
Yes.
judge. So I
Yes.
think
Yes.
what was very exclusive and a limited domain has now opened up, and it is much more approachable. It
Yes.
is because I feel there's nothing worse than having a story inside you and not being able to tell it. That's very
Yes. That I completely agree with.
so.
So,
So I think it's good.
do you think we as readers, Indian readers, have also evolved in the last say 2 decades or so? Have we
Uh,
also gone beyond on Arundhati and Amitabh Ghosh on one hand and Chetan Bhagat on the other? Have we also evolved and or have we also
Absolutely, yeah,
started
absolutely. I do see
embracing more?
they're embracing more. They're more open to reading different kinds of books. I think
Yes.
their appetite for the entire spectrum of what they read is open. They may be,
Mhm.
it's not exclusive to Indian authors, but they're open to Indian authors. They're also,
Yes.
I think, more forgiving. They're
Yes.
so and like, especially for me, the little interaction I've had with based on the reviews from my books, I really feel that the point you wanted to convey was taken, was understood without
Yes.
highlighting it. The readers are very, I would say, they're
Without going
aware.
to the melodrama level.
They're very aware, and I think it's a fabulous time, whether it's as an author or as a reader. It's a great
Yes.
time to be in.
That's lovely. That's wonderful. Also, we have become a lot more inclusive in our writing. We have started
Yes,
including characters. Indian authors have started including characters that were earlier, say, beyond our I don't know, comfort level maybe. We have
yeah,
started including issues that that make us more uncomfortable. We are ready to address things
yes,
that make us question things around us,
yeah,
and that also I think has helped a lot in being making the readers also a little more aware of things that are going on, and beyond that certain urban life and all. So earlier it was more like either super rich or super poor or super urban or super rural.
yeah,
So I think we have very beautifully merged into the started walking towards the middle ground, and adapting, loving, telling stories that involve people all around us, which are
yes.
not here or here, but somewhere in between. So I think that's a lovely thing.
Yeah, and our culture is so rich, and I feel like I really
Yes.
feel it's an asset to be exposed to what we have all around us. So India,
Hmm.
there's like you can find a story in every corner, and it's just like
And
so
I'm
very
also
colorful.
absolutely
I think it's beautiful.
Yes, yes. And I'm also absolutely loving the translations that are coming up out of regional languages. So
Yes.
from Maharashtra you have Cobalt Blue, from Andhra Pradesh you have Gajar Hochar, from Tamil Nadu you have Punachi and One Part Woman. I'm loving reading these authors, which because of the lack of translations, because of the less probability of them being translated, were inaccessible to me because I can't go around and learn every language.
Yeah.
But then as a reader I would want to know more about every section of the society in every part of the world of our country, in every state of our country. So
Yeah.
even I would like to take this opportunity for to give a big shout out to the translators also here. They're doing
Yes.
a tremendous job in bringing these stories to us urban Indians who are not going beyond Hindi, English and the mother tongue.
Not
Okay.
anything.
Yeah. So I have a surprise for you now.
Go ahead.
So, because I'm a Bollywood buff and I'm having a coffee with Karan kind of rapid fire round with you.
Oh my God. I don't watch
What is the
coffee,
answer?
and I'm not very good at rapid fire.
No, 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 no. You have to oblige us with this. It barely take 3 4 minutes. Minus the hamper. I'm sorry for that, but still, let's have some fun. We have talked about abusive marriages and we have talked about literature and all that. Let's have some fun now. So there is one rule and one rule only for this. The rule is that you don't get time to think. You just need to blurt out whatever answer comes to your mind.
I'm going to try, but I'm really not good at this stuff. I don't do well under pressure.
Let's have fun. It's not an exam. Don't
Let's try.
worry. Okay. Favorite book or author of recent times? I know, but the rule is you don't get time to think.
Okay.
Yes,
When the
you have
wildflowers
to.
bloom. I've been
Okay,
reading this book the longest. So
okay. Favorite book or author of all times?
The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho.
Okay. Favorite genre?
Favorite? Sorry?
Book genre?
Philosophy. That's my
Okay.
thing.
So next question is going to be tricky for you. Horror or fantasy?
Fantasy.
Okay. Novels or series? I mean, a single novel or a series?
Novel.
Novel, a single novel. Okay. Novel or short stories?
Novel.
Okay.
Sorry.
Big book or quick reads?
Uh, big book, quick
Big
reads.
book or quick read?
Quick reads.
Quick reads. Okay. One movie that you think did justice to the book,
One movie
which
that
is
did
very
justice to the book. I actually don't watch too much. So
no time to think.
uh, Indian books, I don't even
Not
think.
necessarily Indian. Not necessarily Indian. Any
Uh,
book.
that's a tough one. I'm freaking out. I don't know. I don't watch much TV.
Chalo,
or
let's pass this. You have one. Okay. Uh, um, Booktube or Bookstagram?
YouTube.
Okay.
I'm not very
Popular
big.
fiction.
Yeah, so still need to explore.
Okay. Popular fiction or literary fiction?
Popular fiction or literary fiction? Literary fiction.
Okay. Literary awards. Yes or no?
No, not my thing so much.
Not a thing. Okay. Favorite character of all times?
Favorite character of all times? I. Uh, yeah, yeah.
No time to think.
No, really, I'm trying to think who's my favorite character. So, see, my thing is that it's been different with me. I've read a lot of generic books. For
Mhm.
me, I relate to stories in a very different way. So, I really, yeah, don't have a favorite character. I'm sorry, I told you I'm really bad.
Try two. You don't get the third strike. Okay. Favorite character for when the white flowers bloom apart from Tara?
Yes, it was Bija. Bija,
Okay. That's
yeah.
a good choice. Yes. Okay. Most underrated book or author?
Most underrated book or author. Um I again, you're asking me the question. Um, I am not even sure. I think it's just a matter of the right audience. I wouldn't say anybody's underrated. It's whether they met the right audience. See,
Most overrated book or author? You're playing it very safe. You need to be a little bold. Most overrated. Now this is something that might trick you. Most
again,
overrated book or author.
overrated for me. Like it's hard for me to judge
Just
an
for you,
overrated.
for you.
For me,
Come on, let's have
so
fun.
I had like since you mentioned uh, like uh, I would say for me personally, I didn't enjoy God of Small Things as much. I think it was a lot of people.
You and me are on the same page there.
So yeah, so for me, I thought again just because I'm a different reader, not like her writing was fabulous. I wish I could write like that. It was just for me. I felt a little.
It was overrated. You know what I feel about? I mean, I'm venturing out into the discussion again because the last question was done. That was the last question. So
Thank
for me,
God.
I feel that sometimes, yeah, sometimes literary masterpieces as a reader, sometimes they make me feel small, which I don't like. If I don't like an award-winning book, earlier I used to think, oh, maybe I'm not intelligent enough, or maybe I'm not wise enough, or maybe I'm not evolved enough to appreciate it. It's a feeling that I didn't like. I would rather read a book that makes me feel empowered
Yeah.
than reading a book. I mean, critical acclaim is okay, criticism is okay, but then this is a little too much for me. I mean,
Yes.
Arundhati Roy, God of Small Things I read as a, I mean, I don't know, 2018, I don't even remember, but
Yeah.
it made me feel, yeah, maybe I'm not, evolved enough to. So I
Yeah.
agree with you on that.
Yeah. So and it's different, right? Like I always feel that there's books that call out to me, and they can be the simplest of books. And actually, speaking, I don't read fiction as much. I really haven't read like a whole lot of books. I think what I enjoy a lot more is poetry. What I enjoy a lot more is philosophy. So I actually write fiction, but I don't read so much fiction, which is kind of very weird. So
Yeah,
that's how it is.
I agree with that. Anyways, um, now do us a favor and read a few lines from the book.
Yes,
If you would be
happy.
happy to.
Okay. So this is about, of course, Tara's in conversation with this my favorite character, Bija, and so she's like a lady who's full of wisdom and from the years of experience, and this is them sitting together in an orchard and talking about life, and Bija goes, she's talking to Tara.
Okay.
Talking about my relationship with life, Tara, it has been interesting as far back as I can remember. There's one thing you should understand about life: it gives you only what you expect from it. I wouldn't say life is unfair, but it's certainly biased towards those who demand of it. Never settle for what it brings you. Have the courage to ask life to deliver what you want. But Bija, this is Tara talking back, she says, not everyone has it in them, this courage. And Bija replies, we all have courage in us, Tara. What we don't have enough of is trust. The first sign of trouble, and we run back to safety. This courage is not about some abstract bravery or fearlessness. It's about trust, a trust that tells you that no matter which way life takes you, or how much ever it tests you, it will not let you down. And then she asks her about a marriage, and she says, I've heard things are not going so good, and sorry if it's a personal question, but when you call someone Bija, you sign away the right to question. And Tara smiles and she says, yes, it's been a struggle, but I'm doing my best to cope with it. Let's see what life has in store for me. It's hard to tell if what I'm doing is right or wrong. And Bija replies, don't live your life between right or wrong. Wrong isn't what you do. Wrong is when you fail to be you. Start being you. Start surrounding yourself with what is yours. It will always feel right. And if marriage fits into the scheme of things, good. If not, so be it. So this is really, I would say, the introduction to what the story is about.
Yes, I love that you picked this paragraph because it certainly emphasizes on the fact that the book is more about hope and less about the struggle. It's
Yes,
more about coming out of it. It's more like we spoke earlier, it's more about healing than the problems.
yes. The problem is there. It starts with the problem, and then it leads you
Yes,
out of
but
there
then it
into
moves on.
what are the options. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So before we sign out, I would like to ask you what your future plans are. When is the next book coming out? Do you already have a story in mind, or are you still, to come up with one?
Yes, so I'm actually very excited because really I feel like my next work will be as a dedicated author. I'm transitioning out of everything and I want to focus on what I write. And so for once, I'll feel like I've given it my 100% in my own time and in my own pace and without interruptions. So I'm very excited about that. A lot of things are calling out to me. Strangely, history's been one of them. So I think some kind of historical fiction has been calling
Historical
for a long
fiction.
time. So I feel if I have the opportunity to really research something, to really build a story out of the past, because history contains invaluable lessons for
Yes.
today and for future. So I think it would be a very nice experience for me, and I'm excited. But I have few other ideas as well. So I'll know better in a few months, but historical fiction is on the charts for sure. If not now, maybe in the following book.
I hope you don't keep us waiting for a very long time. Just quickly finalize one and write it. Take time to research. Give us a good book, but don't make us
Yes,
wait like
yes.
the way George R. R. Martin has done. I mean, from loving that author, I've come to the point of hating that author. So, so
I hope you don't come to the point of hating me. I'll come up with a good book, hopefully.
yeah.
And with that, thank you so much.
Okay.
And I hope your readers will enjoy, reading the
Yes,
book and they've enjoyed the conversation.
I'm sure that will. If they give it a chance, it has a lot to give. It was lovely having you, Rupa ma'am. Thanks, Karma Foundation. Thanks, Ahmedabad Book Club. Thanks, everybody who has worked very hard to make this happen. It was lovely talking to you. But most of all, thank you to all those who took time and on a Saturday evening just before the festival. I know your time is precious and you're all, wanting to go back to your life and work, but you still gave us enough time. Thank you all very, very much for being with us. Thank you, Rupa ma'am, for being with us. Hello? Yes, we signed out. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.